time for the main event. It's the Shoeshine.
All right, everybody. It's Monday night. It's your boy Dave from the 408. It's the Shoeshine. You know what time it is. Friends from around the globe gather around to talk about the sweet science, the sport of boxing, the sport that we all love so much, and maybe a little bit of MMA today. With me, as always, is my co-host all the way from the city of brotherly love, Mr. Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
Yo, we started off a little bit late. It's really late, actually. So I do want to let everybody know that if you're watching this on Periscope, we had some problems streaming to YouTube. So we will have that show up later. So some of our friends that have just started watching us on YouTube probably won't get this one till later. But I do want to appreciate everyone who has subscribed over to our YouTube channel, because we all know that Twitter will be doing away with this live streaming stuff pretty soon. I'm talking about that Periscope app. But, Drew, today is International Women's Day. And you know, as hardcore male boxing fans, unless you watched boxing last Thursday night on Ring City, USA, which was a really good, entertaining card, this weekend was all about MMA. I'm talking about Amanda Nunes and Clarissa Shields, who made tremendous news, even if her pay-per-view didn't sell well, because she's now a champion in 2 weight divisions, man. Of the ladies, which one of those fights did you catch?
Amanda Nunes. I'd rather watch Nunes than Clarissa Shields.
You know, and it's not funny that you say that, but there seems to be going something on when people discuss the sport of female boxing. You know, when we talk about female boxing and women in combat sports. Now, today is International Women's Day, so salute to the mothers and the wives, the daughters out there, and women in combat sports. Why would you say that the Amanda Nunes fight, which you turned me on to on Saturday night, and I thought was really entertaining, for the most part, that UFC card was really, really entertaining. What about Amanda Nunes attracts you more to her to watch her compete than Clarissa Shields?
Because you know somebody's going to really get their ass kicked.
And she did. That woman, she destroyed in less than, one round, was 6 feet tall?
Yeah, she beat her in like 45 seconds.
And also, like, the instant social media reaction. I mean, it's insane. What she's done, she has the longest win streak in UFC history. She's annihilated every female star before her. You can name them. From Cyborg to all Ronda Rousey. She's beat them all, everyone that she's put in front of her. So it begs me, I started thinking instantly, Clarissa Shields is now a champion in 2 weight classes simultaneously. She's gone all the way undisputed from 168 to 154 now. Anyone they've put in front of her, she's got 11 professional fights, 2-time Olympian. Are we ready to see Clarissa Shields cross over into MMA and potentially take on the greatest athlete in UFC history, Amanda Nunes? Am I the only one thinking that this might be a good call?
No, I don't think so.
But did you give it thought? Did you give that thought for even just a moment?
I gave it thought, but the thing is, I thought, tell you the truth, I thought the move for her was calling out Katie Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Moving down to fight Katie Taylor.
All the way down to 147, or having her come up at a catch
to 135.
Weight? Wow.
She wants to go to 135 to fight Katie Taylor.
That's a huge, I mean, that's like asking Canelo Alvarez to come down and fight Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, like she was like this to Eddie Hearn, give me $700K to fight Katie Taylor.
And did Eddie Hearn respond? I mean, how did Katie
Probably
Taylor
not.
respond? I mean, that's a huge, drastic weight cut.
I'll be honest with you, Katie Taylor is kind of protected still, in my opinion. Like, I just think she's still protected.
Yeah, well, we find ourselves, like, recently, we find ourselves hearing that she made this announcement that she thought about working, crossing over to MMA, Clarissa Shields, and that the sport of boxing is just not being receptive to her, or she's not gaining the notoriety and respect she feels she deserves. And so if that's the case, Amanda Nunes isn't particularly larger than her. Amanda Nunes can crack. I mean, you got people like the head of the UFC, Dana White, saying that Amanda Nunes could beat up Jake Paul if Jake Paul wants to fight somebody in the UFC.
Yeah.
I'm not saying much about that. I'm not saying anything about Jake Paul, really. I mean, this guy's a YouTube celebrity turned boxer. But, I mean, if we're in that age of cross-promotion and we're in that age where we're having these fights that are in between celebrities and different athletes crossing paths, why not? You know, that's what I'm saying. We got a caller already, and the Shoeshine is interactive. I'm going to take this call, 702-710-3627, because it was a little bit of a slow weekend for boxing fans, but the UFC card was really entertaining. So let's take 951. 951, what's up? You were on the Shoeshine.
Yo, this is Johnny Savage, the Latin lover of the house. What's up?
Johnny Savage, the Latin lover. Did you watch the UFC? I think you did, right? You're a guy that likes the UFC.
Yeah, it was a great fight, man. It was a great fight.
Okay, now which one of those? You said which one of these fights was the great fight? Was it the main event? Was it the co-main with Amanda Nunes, or the one right before that? Because I got a problem with that fight.
Amanda Nunes, the girl fight, dude. That was a good fight.
All right, and
I always like girls fighting, man.
You always like to watch girls fighting. Okay, now did you watch this Clarissa? It turns you on. That's not, today is International Women's Day, bro. So, I mean, I don't think you might want to retract that statement that it's a turn on.
We need to respect now.
All right, we didn't hear that. Now, did you watch the female? Did you watch the boxing though? The female champion fight on Friday night, because you got access to all these pay-per-views, right?
Yeah, no, I get a chance because I went out to dinner. I took my wife and my daughter out to dinner.
Right.
And we hung out.
Right. Okay. And like you happened to win that just a few weeks ago on the Shoeshine. Johnny Savage won Casual Fan of the Week. So again, you missed out on the boxing on Friday night, but you watched the females on the UFC on Saturday night, right?
Yeah, that was a good fight.
See, that's what I'm saying, Drew.
We
got a problem.
That was more intriguing to me than the other fight. Other fights are kind of boring, you know what I mean? The UFC. But I mean, did you watch it, Dave or Drew? You watch the fight?
I watched the fights and everything. I be honest with you, like the main event was the one that really intrigued me because Israel Adesanya was undefeated and he was supposed to be working towards fighting John Jones, and don't think that's happening now.
Yeah, he didn't make that weight jump.
I kind of know. I knew why that guy lost the fight. I knew why he was going. I know there's the only way how he could possibly lose that fight. He did, and it was like the takedowns and the weight. Because that dude, I forget his name and everything. He weighed in the 220 the night of the fight, and Israel still was at 200 pounds. So you already had a big disadvantage, and especially not being used to fighting at light heavyweight, all that weight on you. He lost the fight.
I mean, he didn't try to win. I don't think. You know what I mean? He kind of like, I don't know. He's kind of like. It was I don't know. It was all right.
He tried to win it. I think. Like, here's the thing: if they would have stayed up on the feet the whole time, Israel would have won that fight easily. It was like Israel was actually getting to him, faking him. He was falling for fakes the whole night. Before the third round started, he adjusted. He said, "Hey, I gotta take him. I gotta start taking him down." This guy had not the highest percentage takedown percentage in the light heavyweight division, and this dude didn't attempt to take down until round 3.
Yeah, not a good strategy. Not a good strategy. So that fight was a little bit of disappointment, but what we're talking about, because it's Women's International Day, Amanda Nunes has not failed to. She's not disappointed in any of her matches. She's a wrecking machine. And so what I'm asking the callers and people in the chat, Johnny, is should women's boxing, they've got a champion named Clarissa Shields who holds championships in 2 separate weight divisions. She says she can't catch a break and catch the notoriety, respect, and fame she thinks she deserves. Should she fight Amanda Nunes in a cross-promotional women's boxing / MMA match? I mean, whether like when Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor. Would you like to see that?
Yeah.
I'm talking about two women who are the best at what they do. Should they fight in some kind of a fight like that? You're down for that. You would be interested in seeing that.
I would.
Yeah, as a casual fan. All right, so we're talking about the UFC, but I definitely want to get to some boxing. And Johnny, I'm sure you probably saw this fight, but earlier in the night, there was a Russian guy who fought an American guy. And that was, I believe, for the Bantamweight Championship. And there was a knee strike. His last name is Yan. Did you see that fight, Drew? With that knee strike that was illegal when the guy was down?
Yeah. Like, you have like Big John McCarthy coming out saying that the dude fake being hurt. How can you fake being hurt when you got kneed to your head and everything? Dude's concussed. Like, that's a concussion right away. You telling me an exposed knee to your head, near your temple and everything, and you're telling me he was faking being hurt? Come on. I just think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, Johnny. I'm not sure if you saw this. Peter Yan was the champion, and Aljamain Sterling, he was the ranked guy who was there to fight him and challenge him for his title. And while the guy was down, and I don't know if there was a break in the call or the action with the referee, but the knee strike to the temple was a completely illegal shot. It'd be like when a fighter was down if a shot was landed to the temple or the back of the neck, a rabbit punch after the referee's trying to break it up. So the guy lost his championship.
That's a cheap shot, man.
But a kneecap. So here's my gripe. And here's my gripe with the UFC big time, bro, is I don't think they look out for their fighters' best interests, because that took unusually long. As someone who's watching it there with my wife as a spectator, why did that take so long for the referees and whatever athletic commission was regulating it for them to say, hey, that was an illegal strike, the fight's over? Instead, they try to wait to see if he wanted to come back and fight concussed. Right, Drew? You said he was concussed.
Here's the problem with that. They're saying that, because if it wasn't a championship fight, they would have called it right away. But it's because it's a championship fight. No one's ever lost a belt under disqualification. And I'm like, he took a legal shot. His knee was clearly on the ground. You're not allowed to knee somebody in the head while they're on the ground. But unless you're on, you can't hit nobody. You can't hit it with a knee when they're on the ground. When they have a knee on the ground. That's illegal. So you waited that long. You clearly see the guy ain't able to get up. He ain't able to catch his footing and everything. And you're trying, and the referee's saying right away, I want to call it because he ain't getting up. So they had to have somebody from the athletic commission, or he's like calling this fight. It's over, disqualification. And then they were saying that when he had him in that position, Yan looked towards his corner, and he asked him, "Is it okay to hit him now?" And they gave him the okay. So that was bad advice from his team to tell him to hit him. But let's be like this. MMA is a very violent sport. And to be honest, I watch Pride MMA. Pride MMA is a lot more dangerous than the UFC, because when you're on the ground on your back, they let you jump on your opponent, feet first on them, stomp. Doesn't matter if it's on your face, if it's on your body, any part of your body except for the low blow and everything. That's more dangerous than UFC. And I tell people that transferred from Pride to the UFC and they weren't as successful, because Pride takes a lot more out of you than fucking UFC MMA.
You talking about?
Yeah, the regular MMA is more like it's kind of like it's more like controlled. I mean, like you said, Prime is more like no holds bar. Just it's like a street fight. You know what I mean? Pretty much.
I want to call it street fighting and everything. It's more like how MMA used to be.
Machismo.
Because you look at it like this, MMA really came from the martial art pancration. And pancration is more, I think it's like a Greek or Roman martial that the Romans used to use and everything.
Uh-huh.
And that's how a lot of these styles came that from like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga that the Israelis use for their armies and everything. And that's how Pride is the regular MMA. Because if you look at it back in the day, UFC used to be a no holds bar. You used to fight bare knuckle and everything, and you used to be able to do all that shit they do in Pride.
Yeah, they had
But
to
now they
stop
tone it
after
down.
the very original ones. They had to stop things like biting and kicks to the groin and those type of things were originally not banned, from what I understand. Eye pokes.
It was a lot worse.
It's like it's like the underground. The underground. Remember back in the day, underground. You ever watch that movie Bloodsport?
yeah, there's
It's
a
like
lot.
that, man. Like
There's still underground fights going on anywhere. Like the thing about it is, back in the day, the UFC was more dangerous than Pride because Pride at least had rules, has rules still, but it had like the fucking gloves and everything. But now Pride's more dangerous than UFC because they allowed that stomp in the head.
Drew, you brought up a point that they didn't initially make that call because it was a championship fight. And I try to think about boxing history where a championship fight resulted in, disqualification. And I thought instantly of Victor Ortiz. When Victor Ortiz landed that headbutt, that was a pay-per-view special that everybody was anticipating against Floyd Mayweather. But it wasn't the headbutt that ended the fight. It was the actual knockout afterwards that came about after the headbutt. I thought maybe he won by disqualification, but I just remembered, no. He actually knocked out Victor Ortiz.
Yeah,
I did.
Like that was really controversial because even though the rule is always keep your hands up, always
protect
defend
yourselves at all times.
Protect yourself at all times and everything. But at the same time, the referee never really gave the word to start fighting again.
Yeah, you said it was mired in controversy.
Hey, Drew. Hey, Drew, you watch that fight when that one guy? What's up with that one guy, Dave? I know you know. When he got killed in the ring, boxing got killed in the ring. Who's that, Dave?
Talk about Patrick's Day?
I don't think Johnny knows.
No.
Johnny knows it's not funny. There's been just in 2019, Johnny, there was like maybe 3 deaths in the ring as a result, not necessarily in the ring. Not just in the ring, but immediately after. Because here's the deal. Here's what pisses me off is that boxing.
No, it was in the ring. Remember that one guy, the Mexican guy? Remember he got killed? Or he was one of the brothers and he stopped boxing. I forgot his name. Fuck. What was that guy's name?
Well, when you can think of it, you're welcome to call back. But Johnny, you bring up a point that in the sport of boxing, which is a lot of times people who have died, it's immediately after from the results of concussions and bleeding in the brain. And so as a boxing fan who's watching UFC because there was no fights boxing on Saturday, the first thing I'm thinking of is this guy really needs to be attended to medically immediately because you have no idea what's going on inside his brain. You can see how the way he's reaction, he needed urgent medical attention. And if he won the match by disqualification, so be it. Let the guy rematch. I'm sure the UFC, it's all in-house. If he's down for it and he said he was, they could rematch later. But ultimately, I think his safety was most important, Drew.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised Dana White didn't say anything because you know how Dana White is. After he sees a bullshit and everything, he comes, oh, that's bullshit and everything. But I think he knew he was going to get a line of fire if he would have said something.
Yeah, and
negative.
And you're right about that. I think he made the right call by not commenting so well.
Especially with him being a known Trump supporter and everything.
I'm not sure what that has to do with that incident, but not too sure about
exactly. Trump supporter. Hey, yeah, you be like Speech, bro. You be like Speech. Just kidding.
So,
it's fucking right.
So Thursday night there was some boxing. And it's on that Ring City USA, which is on NBC Sports. I happen to like that. I think they've been doing a tremendous job. And there's a guy named Brandon Woods who came out of the TV show, The Contender Series or whatnot. We've seen a lot of people come up from that. It's been around for a long time. He's like the most recent one who's getting success. He had a come from behind victory against a really tough Ukrainian fighter, or Russian, Serhiy Borchacek. He was down on the cards and somehow miraculously had a sensational left hook or something, and he dropped him to win. Now he's been successful. He's dropped like 2 in a row on that TV show. And I'm telling you, Drew, I'm telling everybody, I don't mind seeing him against a Charlo. I don't mind seeing him leave Ring City, USA and getting some big name fights because he's been performing. What do you think about that? Your thoughts on him at 154?
I'll tell you this right now. That guy was Irish. He wanted a one.
And we are celebrating St. Patrick's Day, whether you're Irish or not. It's coming up next week, so we got to do something special for St. Patrick's Day. But while Johnny's on the phone, because he is from Southern California, on that undercard in Puerto Rico was the son of Fernando Vargas. Johnny, you remember Fernando Vargas, right? Against De La Hoya?
Yeah. He's from Fresno. What is he from Fresno?
No, Oxnard.
No, Oxnard. He's from your part of town.
He's from Oxnard, brother. He's from the coastal town of Oxnard. But his son, and he's got 3 sons that are boxing. 2 of them have turned professional. The oldest one fought on the undercard, and that's Fernando Jr. And I won't say much about the guy he fought, but I think this was really interesting. They're put it on Twitch. Johnny, even Johnny knows how to use Twitch. Twitch is really popular.
Drew streams games on Twitch.
Yeah, and Drew's
Twitch is cool.
A big time Twitch user. And
Twitch.tv/Drew85, everybody. Just make sure you follow me, sub my channel, please. I really need the support.
Yeah, actually, I do follow you, Drew, and I follow, what's it called? Kate and Brent Hadley, the Swingers show.
Right.
During the day.
Why the hell didn't your name come up on my founders list then?
Yeah, he's always got to turn the Shoeshine into a sex show. But so, anyways, we're talking about Twitch, and they had Fernando Vargas Jr.'s son. The Twitch stream. Now, most people know when you're watching these streams or whatnot, you kind of gauge how much interest there is by the chat, and the chat blew up because his sons they're like the next Ryan Garcias. They've not necessarily, I'm not comparing them, but they're very good at social media. So when his son fought, a huge fan base just flooded Twitch, and some hacker managed to hack the Ring City USA's Twitch account, and they were I guess they figured out how to code like sex animation during the fight, like prior to the fight. And the Ring City USA people were like, oh, snap, we got to figure out how to regain control of our account because they had been hacked. But, nonetheless, Fernando Vargas' children, they're huge on Instagram and social media. There was a lot of attention, both positive and negative. There was a lot of negative comments in the chat, as well as positive, as well as young women who were there. They seem to draw the women the same way Ryan Garcia is drawing the women, the same way his dad had a huge audience. Fernando Vargas was big with the ladies. He was, and I guess his sons are too. And only time's going to tell how any of his 3 sons turn out as professionals. My bet is on Emiliano, the baby. Although they all seem to have spectacular hand speed. So there you have it. That was Thursday night. That's the only fights I want to talk about. Drew, what's on your mind?
Dave. They might be like fucking. They might be like, what's it called? Cesar Chavez's son.
Nah, Drew. Cesar Chavez's son. Why do you say that?
Because he was good and he sucks now.
Okay.
Yeah, disappointment.
Okay, no, I get what you're saying. When we bring up the subject of his sons and children who are of famous boxers, there's always they always have to worry about writing their own legacy, right? Because you're always going to be compared to you're always going to be compared to your father. His father's going to be a future Hall of Famer. And you do worry about that. How do you live up to your father's expectations? How do you make your name for yourself in the sport? How do you do that?
You can't. It's too much pressure, bro.
It's difficult, right?
Too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
You crack, yeah.
You crack, like your voice crack. No, I'm just kidding, Johnny. Yeah, it is a lot of pressure.
It's high pitch. I got high pitch. I'm laying in bed right now, actually, guys. I'm laying in bed. I'm watching. I want to tell you what. I gotta put myself to sleep.
I have no idea what Johnny said. Do you?
No, I'm laying in bed right now. Laying in bed watching a movie.
Okay, and you're watching the Shoeshine. At some point, I might have to cut you off, or I might have to move on and wrap up the shortly.
Yeah, you know what? I have to go to bed, guys. I gotta go.
Well, thank you for the announcement, Johnny. I'll talk to you later, brother. Thank you for calling the Shoeshine. All right, later.
Great show, guys.
All right, thank you.
Drew. Hey, Drew. Eagles suck, Drew. Eagles suck.
All
Johnny,
right.
don't ever watch us while you're in bed again.
That was creepy.
That doesn't sound right at all.
He's in the bed. Our caller is calling from the bed, and you know what? If I was gonna have one caller, it might as well be Johnny. But all right, let's move back on to boxing because this weekend, Chocolatito, once a pound for pound legend, he's had 4 divisions, 4 championships in 4 divisions. He was once the guy who was always fighting under Triple G, became a household name. He's from Nicaragua. There's other great champions from Nicaragua. Alexis Arguello is the most famous of all champions from Nicaragua. This rematch against Estrada is a fight that he won in 2009. And now both of these guys have had tremendous fights and they've become champions in their own rights. Their careers blossomed after that. It's 2021, and they're going to fight 12 years later. Drew, I've talked to you about this because you really think Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko should rematch, right? Can you imagine if you and me are talking about this 12 years from today, still have a show, The Shoeshine? 12 years from today, Teofimo Lopez is finally fighting Lomachenko. I have no idea how Lomachenko would work out, but I mean, it's a rematch 12 years in the making. Yeah, it's a rematch 12 years in the making. This doesn't happen all the time where you guys have 2 guys who had an incredible fight and now they're going to do it over again 12 years later. But a lot has happened in these smaller divisions because there's a Thai fighter who's fighting Friday night. I'm going to mess up his name, but Sor Rungisov from Thai. He's the guy that everybody thought Chocolatito was the greatest flyweight small fighter there is. Not only did he beat him once, people thought it was a fluke, and then they had a rematch, but he knocked him cold out the second time. All right? Estrada's also fought him, but Estrada gets the win the last time. So everyone's going to wonder, what's our take on this Saturday night's fight? This is a fight that people were hardcore boxing fans are salivating about this fight the same way we were salivating over Valdez and Burchell. But I'm wondering, did we overhype Valdez versus Burchell? Because Burchell didn't show up. The Burchell, I thought, you got it right. Drew Evo got it right. You and G Funky got that one right. Are we setting ourselves up to too high of expectations this Saturday night? Drew, your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Now, I know you probably watched it. These guys have been in some serious wars already. They've got a lot of mileage on their bodies.
You want a prediction? Chocolatito gets knocked out within 9.
Chocolatito gets knocked out in 9. There's going to be a lot of people that love Chocolatito. They're like, Drew Evo, what are you saying? But I happen to kind of agree with you because
inside 9 rounds, he's going to get knocked out because Chocolatito's washed up.
And I just happened to be around 5 o'clock. I was listening to our friend David and Amilcar from Leave It in the Ring, and shout out to Leave It in the Ring Radio Network, who host our show on their podcast network, and we're friends with them on YouTube. And they were discussing it, and they had a good points that this might be a battle of watching 2 guys with who's got the less mileage on their body, who's still got something left in the tank. These guys have been in some serious wars, and I think Chocolatito has gotten the worst of it lately. And that this Thai fighter that we are going to watch on Friday night as well, he's the one that brings them together, that gives us the answer. And I think the answer is that Chocolatito is probably not going to get the best of Estrada 12 years later. This time it's probably going to be Estrada. So we're going to find out next week. We'll be able to see whether or not we're both right on our prediction for Chocolatito and Estrada. It should be a really good card. And a lot of people who complain about DAZN, if you look at the DAZN schedule, dude, it looks pretty good this March. I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look bad at all. I mean, there's some pretty good fights coming up toward the end of the end of March. And, last weekend was quiet, but there's going to be a lot of action for the rest. But so we wrap up the show a little bit early. Drew, there was a couple of things that were really interesting to me. And we're going to have our friend who was not able to come on the show tonight, but I want to give a shout out to my friend producer Jay Chaudhry from Players TV, formerly of Break Media. He's introduced me to Phil LaGreco, and Phil LaGreco was kind enough to let us interview his fighter that we interviewed this past week, man. And that was a really good time speaking with, let me get his name right. We had this great interview with his fighter, Lucas Prince Badi, who's going to be contending at the lightweight division. He's 10-0 with 10 knockouts. And yeah, so a shout out to them. Hopefully we'll get to catch up with Jay Chaudhry because he's a real industry insider. And what I really wanted to talk about that we haven't addressed, Drew, is the fact that Teofimo Lopez is not going to be fighting on ESPN for Top Rank.
I actually want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about it because
now, I want to talk about Teofimo and other fighters in the 135 weight division because I'm going to be honest with you. It's turning into who's making the next move because, there's already been a next move, and now David Haney's going to fight Jorge Linares,
which is finally a good opponent.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight, and I said it on Milcard's show when I was in the chat. I'm picking a winner already. I think Jorge Linares is going to beat Devin Haney.
Now Jorge Linares made a mistake. We talk about fighters like this weekend, Adesanya, the spider guy or whatnot, went up in weight, but Jorge Linares got knocked out at 140 pounds. Why he went up to 140 for against that fight with Kano? You remember that guy Kano at 140 pounds?
Yeah.
He just randomly went up in weight to try it out at 140 and got knocked out. But at 135, he's championship level material. Right, he's an A-level fighter. I don't know why he was
stopped. He was stopped by Lomachenko, but here's the thing: people are saying, "Oh, all 5 of his losses by knockouts." But here's the thing: if Gamboa didn't get knocked out by Haney, you think this guy's gonna knock Linares out? No, I think Linares is gonna beat Devin Haney because he was keeping up with Lomachenko, going back and forth.
Didn't he drop Lomachenko?
Yeah, he dropped him too.
So he's got power.
Yeah, so another thing, you got Ryan tells a lie every other week. He says, "Oh, let's fight Tank." Man, let's not fight Tank now. I want to fight Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, I never talk about Manny. I never talk about fighting Ryan Garcia. That dude's lying. I don't give a fuck. I think he needs to shut his mouth. Let Oscar do the talking from now on because all he's doing is acting like a little ass kid. I know he's young as shit, but he needs to grow the fuck up a little bit.
So, man, you brought up Tank. Oh, I just can't wait to talk about Tank.
You know what? I got a couple more to talk about. Tank, that motherfucker wants to move up to 140 because he doesn't want to fight none of these 135 guys. But when he gets up to 140, who calls him out? Reads his progress. Floyd, that's a Floyd. That dude D was white. Well, I was on that round table on a Milcard's channel last week and everything. That's a Floyd Mayweather move. Definitely a Floyd Mayweather move. He doesn't want them to fight those guys, but you can't avoid Regis' progress, and because you think you're going to get a belt because when these guys move up to when Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez moves up to 147 after going undisputed. Hell no.
Regis' progress is being avoided by Adrian Broner at 140 pounds, but all of a sudden Tank Davis, who beats up on featherweights, 126-pound fighters, because let's be honest. He beat up a Mexican featherweight when he knocked him out recently, that tremendous knockout. But all of a sudden, he's got the balls to fight at 140. So when you say it's a Mayweather move, do you think it's just all BS? It's just like Ryan lying?
It's always BS when it comes to a lot of fighters and everything. And I'll be like this right now. If you want to, I'm gonna be honest with you, and if you want to hear biased people hype up fighters that don't deserve to get hyped up or try to lie for them, you can check out other channels. But if you want to hear the truth or unbiased opinions, you can check out this channel because there's channels that are unbiased, but I'm going to be honest, a lot of YouTubers that are boxing are biased towards other fighters that don't deserve the hype and everything because they haven't proved it or been exposed. But like Tank, Tank is always going to fight a guy that's is coming up in weight or is going to stand in front of him the whole time and attempt to trade with him. You won't see him fight a Devin Haney. You won't see him fight a Regis Progress because Regis Progress is a legitimate 140-pounder. And Regis Progress, in my opinion, is the second best fighter, is actually, in my opinion, without a belt, the first best fighter in the division besides Josh Taylor.
Well, you say that because a lot of people, arguably, that was fight of the year against Joshua Taylor. We're going to watch fight Jose Ramirez May 22nd in Las Vegas to be the undisputed 140-pound champion. But a lot of people thought Regis Prograis won that fight. And had he gotten that decision, we'd be looking at Ramirez versus Regis Prograis from New Orleans in a unification match. But instead, we got Regis Prograis, from what I understand, he's moving on to Thriller, which is where Mike Tyson fought, where Jake Paul is fighting his pay-per-view against this MMA fighter, right? Now we got Regis Prograis joining. But more importantly, I brought up the champion at 135, the lightweight takeover, the champion, Teofimo Lopez.
I'm getting to him right now. And here's my problem with Teofimo. Now I know we're on the network and like people interview Senior and everything. I'm out. I'm just being me. A lot of people saw that as a close fight.
Yeah,
if you think it wasn't,
fight.
if you think that wasn't a close fight, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're watching.
Well, I saw the same fight, and I don't think it was close, Drew. But I think it was. I think Lomachenko did come on late. Had he started a little bit earlier,
I thought it was a draw, and some people thought it was a draw. Some people had a close win for Teofimo. But to give him 11 rounds,
well,
someone said
no. That was improper. That's bad judging. But I mean,
that's not
a close win for Teofimo 7-5 is completely reasonable. Now, where we differ is whether or not Lomachenko, what stopped him from turning on the gas, and getting engaged in the fight sooner. Because I know you're a big proponent of a rematch, like the rematch we're going to see this Saturday. You're saying they should rematch at some point.
Yeah, because I was watching. I forget who was interviewing Senior, but Senior said he only saw Loma win the 11th round. I know that's your son and everything, that you're being for your son and everything, but I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree with you. There's no way your son won 11 rounds. There's no way, because in the from rounds 4 to 11, Loma was backing him up. And Tio had a lot of problems throwing backing up.
Yeah, those are those rounds. Those are the close rounds that maybe, depending on what you were looking for in the ring, sways you one way or the other. But I did see Tio winning at least 7 of those. Now that is a close fight, and it may merit a rematch down the line. But again, for me, I need to see Lomachenko make a statement and come back and beat some of these guys like you just talked about. I wouldn't mind seeing him in with Devin Haney. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Ryan Garcia. The list goes on and on.
Question. Do you think any of them are going to fight Lomachenko? Devin Haney just ducked Lomachenko.
If Lomachenko's in good shape and he wants it, he should be calling out Gervonta Davis because he's arguably the biggest name aside from Tio in the lightweight division.
You know Floyd's going to keep him away from Lomachenko.
He's been doing that, but that is, to me, the biggest name. That's the biggest statement. Beat Gervonta Davis, expose him at lightweight, and they could even, I mean, both of those guys have been at 130. You know that Gervonta goes from 130 to 135. The last fight was at 130, but it had the 135 belt on the line. That's a great fight.
But you know what the problem is? You know what the problem is with him moving down up in weight all the time like that? That's going to eventually backfire on him.
Well, it's backfired on Adrian Broner. It's backfired on his good friend, Adrian Broner, who can't pick a weight class.
But this is the thing. Teofima's legacy is going to affect if he gives Lomachenko a rematch or not. If he doesn't give him a rematch, they're going to look at him and say, yo, you had a close fight with this guy. He figured you out. You don't want to give him a rematch because you know you most likely ain't going to win a rematch. And I'm respectfully, everybody has an opinion and everything. Everybody can call me whatever they want. And because of my opinion,
No, listen. I choose you to be my co-host because we have a difference of opinions. And there's always going to be a difference of opinions in the sport of boxing. You just got to be able to back up your opinion. Period.
yeah, that's the thing. I get heat on me for some of my opinions sometimes.
Oh,
and
for
I
sure.
don't care about if I get heat or not, because tell you the truth, I can prove they're right.
So it brings us to the main event this weekend, right? Going back to that. This fight, like a Lomachenko rematch with Teofimo, can't happen 12 years later. Because like you said, Lomachenko's already in his 30s. So it would work for Teofimo because Teofimo is so young. But if they're going to have a rematch, he's going to have to give it to him in the next few years. Because with Lomachenko and his injuries, the shoulder injuries, and already being in his 30s, I mean, to some people, it smells like Canelo waiting out Triple G. We know Triple G is slowed down drastically. And if Canelo says, I'll fight you, oh yeah, he's 40. There's really no reason to visit that fight, a third rematch, if I'm watching a 40-year-old Triple G.
Yeah, that's another thing. I said we shouldn't even cross that road again with a third fight with Triple G and Canelo, because Triple G right now, he's on a decline. He may have won his fight, but he beat a nobody. And he lost to Sergey Dovchenko. He was dominated by Dovchenko. That dude's on a decline. And when they exploited a match between him and Andre, Triple G didn't want to fight Demetrius Andre because Demetrius Andre is going to make a move all the time. He's not going to stay in front of him. He's going to box him. He's going to make him look worse. And they're going to say, you want to still fight? Should you still fight or not? And this is going to be the end of Triple G, and Eddie Hall can't make the money off Triple G. So, like, I know there's a big fan base for Triple G and everything, rooting for him and everything, but at the end of the day, he's on a decline. And I understand they want Eddie Hearn's plan is to eventually match him up with Canelo for a third fight. It's not going to do it ain't going to do better than the first two fights. It's not going to do nowhere near the first two fights. It's barely going to get to 200,000 views. It's going to get the Sergey Kovalev numbers because he's old. The only thing that hasn't been done to him yet is he's been stopped or knocked out. It's the only thing that hasn't been done to Triple G yet.
I want to come back to that Triple G and visit that at a later time. Canelo, I want to touch on that real quick before we do get off the air. But I just want to wrap our thoughts around the fact that Thriller, a new media company, outbid Bob Arum, Top Rank, who is Teal's promoter, and Matchroom Sports. And really, what does that say of Bob Arum, who we know he really isn't representing Terrence Crawford, whose contract is up this year? I'm thinking if I'm Terrence Crawford, damn, what Teal did, $3.9 million is what from this deal, he's going to collect $3.9 million for a fight against Kambosos, who many American fans aren't even familiar with. And Kambosos, who's never made $1 million fighting, is going to be making 2.1.
And here's the problem. Here's the problem when it comes to him going to the Thriller and everything. Teofimo has 3.5 years left on his Top Rank contract with Bob Arum.
Which means he's got to give Bob Arum. Bob gloated and goes, I'm the smartest businessman I am. I just made $782,000 and I don't have to do anything because that's what Teo owes me.
But here's the problem with that, with Bob. Teofimo's manager is a smart ass dude because now they figure out a way how to get out of that contract. And they may not to do it in a courtroom and everything, but every time he has a mandatory defense or a big time fight, he can refuse every offer that is given to him by Bob Arum to take the fight.
And go to a
and then
first bid.
force it, goes to a post bid and hope, I'll force Bob Arum to go higher or have another promoter win the post bid and have the right to promote the fight. That means he gets promoted by that fighter for that fight, even though Bob Arum gets a portion of it, but Bob's going to eventually get tired of it. Because the thing is, he's doing this out of spite now. And he's actually, Bob said, oh, I must made almost $800K without doing anything. But at the same time, you potentially lost money too. Potential money that you could have made on this fight.
But you're the only person I saw on social media say that Lomachenko, you messed up, Bob Arum, because Lomachenko and Teofimo should have been a pay-per-view. And Thriller.
Absolutely.
Now, Thriller, Kambosos is no household name, but they figured, well, now Teofimo's a huge star. Now he's definitely pay-per-view, and we're going to charge you for that. We're going to charge you whatever it is, because the Mike Tyson fight wasn't very expensive. Meanwhile, you got PBC charging $75 to see Andy Ruiz versus a washed-up Chris Arreola. Maybe what they're going to do is revive pay-per-view. That's why I wanted to have our guest tonight, Jay Chaudhry, because he's an expert on this. At $49, at $24.99.
The problem is this. Bob Arum, because he didn't win a post bid, or got forced to bet more, and even got beaten by a rival promoter, Eddie Hearn, in a post bid, and lost one of the biggest cash cow 135 right now to a network. He has a lot of heat right now at ESPN. And like the thing is, the problem with Bob Arum is Bob Arum underappreciates the fighters he has, undervalues them big time. Because
it happened with Mikey Garcia, it's happened with Floyd Mayweather, it's happened with numerous. And Mikey Garcia, unlike Teofimo, wasn't able. He had to sit out his contract. You know, it put him on the shelf for about 2 years, cost him a really long time.
Yeah, and the thing is now that Jose Ramirez Josh Taylor fight, that's a pay-per-view fight.
No, it's not. It's going to be May 22nd in Las Vegas.
No, it should be. It should be a pay-per-view fight.
But now he's looking at he's looking at the risk of not having a marquee fighter. Like if Terrence Crawford leaves him this year, and if somehow Teofimo outsmarts him and gets out of his contract, he's stuck with having to build great fighters with little household name recognition like Jose Ramirez and turning them into the next star. So again, that's going to be free, which is a plus for a lot of people.
You want to know, what if Terrence Crawford tries to put the same move as Teofimo?
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't. Terrence Crawford should be looking at a way out unless Bob is going to do everything he can to get him these big fights, a fight against Pacquiao, a fight against Spence. I mean, even a fight against Thurman, who's not.
Listen to this. What if he revisits Sean Porter, whoever his mandatory is? Let's say Sean Porter's his mandatory. Now, they can't agree that Bob Arum tries to throw $1 million at him. Sean Porter's not taking $1 million. I'm a former champion. I made almost $5 million fighting Earl Spence and everything. Terrence Crawford can be like this. I'm not accepting that offer. That goes to a post bid. PBC can bet on it.
Or
Thriller can go bet on it.
I mean, Thriller seems to have all the big money nowadays.
What happens if Thriller goes and bets $20 million on that fight? Terrence Crawford is at least going to make $13 million on that fight, while Sean Porter makes $7 million.
Yeah, and they might merit that. I mean, both of them might merit that. I mean, they've put in all the work at the welterweight division. We're still trying to figure out who the king of the welterweight division is, whether it's going to be Spence or Crawford. And we're all sitting around post-pandemic, post-coronavirus, waiting to figure out who the real top dog is at the claim I'm the next, not the next Floyd Mayweather, but who took over the throne of the welterweight division. It's still an unanswered question with Terrence Crawford being inactive right now and Spence, just recently had a fight. I got a bad feeling that either Bob Arum doesn't want to represent these fighters or they're going to find a way to do an exit move, and he'll just have to concentrate on whoever else is in his stable or future people. But it's not a good look for Top Rank. I'm a little bit confused.
I'm gonna be honest with you. this fight with Joshua and Fury almost didn't happen because of Top Rank. And I was talking about this on the round table I was on with Emil Card and all of them last week. And I said, if you look at it, Queensberry Promotions actually has more power to Fury than Bob Arum does, because Bob Arum is only his U.S. promoter. If that fight takes place outside of the United States, Queensberry has more control. If you look at it like this, 50-50 control, no, it's not. It's 55-40, 45. Queensberry has control of Fury. Fury can get out of that Top Rank deal so easily because Queensberry has more control over him than Top Rank does, and they can easily buy him out to take that. So this move right here that happened, that they lost that Teofimo fight to Fleur and everything, ESPN is going to look at this and it says, we're giving all this money to Bob Arum to do fights and everything on ESPN. And we haven't had a pay-per-view fight since Fury and Wilder. Because when we did the co-pay-per-views with PBC and everything. So now ESPN's got to think, should we consider maybe trying to find another promoter to do long-term business with? Because now, like, even though we don't have the big, maybe do a partnership with Thor or something. Because they have mostly HBO minds that used to work for HBO on that network, I hear.
Yeah, they do.
So
they do.
So now, Bob Arum needs to be under the microscope now. He has to have so much here with ESPN. ESPN's trying to stay in the boxing game, but I think ESPN has to really think about a long-term investment in Top Rank, because you have good fighters on that stable, but this guy, he undervalues his fighters like crazy.
I'm gonna have to agree there. I will agree with you.
And you have a potential cash cow in Terrence Crawford, and you can't get that dude a marquee fight, one of the biggest fights in the sport, with Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao, where you could easily bank in a couple $1 million as your part of your 20%, everything from your fighter. Like, come on. And then you're gonna say, I'll go broke promoting Terrence Crawford. How would you go broke promoting Terrence Crawford when you're gonna bank at least $5 million as a 20% payment with Terrence Crawford if he fights Pacquiao or maybe Errol Spence?
Or Spence.
Like, I don't understand that. A promoter should jump to that opportunity. If I was a promoter, I will quickly go negotiate the fight with Pacquiao and say, hey, how about this? I'll give you could get 30 million. Just let my guy have 20 million. Since you're the bigger name, he's a champion, but you can get 30 million. How about we let my guy get 20 million for that fight? I'll take it easy, maybe $4 or $5 million, 20% pay cut out of that. I'll be happy to and everything. But this guy, I think this motherfucker's developing Alzheimer's. And
oh man, that's nothing to make. No, I know you're not joking about it, but he is getting up there in age, and there are a lot of comments being made about that on social media trying to rationalize his behavior. Because, like you said, I mean, most people are going to agree Terrence Crawford should be treated almost like royalty over there, and the money is there to be made. If Thriller's willing to take that risk on Teofimo and pay so much money for could potentially be a B-level opponent. I know a lot of people are telling me don't sleep on Kambosos. It is a lot of money to pay Kambosos, $2 million, fighter who's never seen that much money. But I want to segue, Drew, real quick about next week. It's St. Paddy's Day next week. It's coming up, right? If I'm not right. And a shout out to all the Irish people. And listen, BJ Saunders is going to find himself, because I got to wrap up the show. I just realized my camera's not even plugged in, which means at any minute my camera could go dead. So here it is. BJ Saunders, Drew, reported today that he hasn't started training camp because he has the flu. Now, Canelo just fought and is in amazing shape. And I read an article this week that said, will Canelo Alvarez finally pull out the very best we've seen in Billy Joe Saunders? We'll leave that up for next week. But Drew, how do you get the flu during Corona when everybody's wearing masks and he hasn't started to train? I'm starting to get a little worried here. If I was a BJ
Don't
Saunders
worry about it, man. You wanna know why? You wanna know who'd be happy if he pulls out?
Oh, you saw
my
that.
My man D style, because he wanted to take another pie to the face.
Oh man, I know you ain't
Because
gonna hear that.
here's the thing right there. Here's the thing I'm gonna say.
You think there is a risk of pulling out?
They could be, but here's the thing. You never know. But here's the thing. I think people that don't want Canelo to lose hope he pulls out, because
what?
Yeah, we all know he's gonna win the fight. Billy Joe's gonna box this
Drew
dude.
Evo thinks that, but I'm concerned because why are people speculating that he's gonna pull out? Does he have a habit of pulling out? This is the biggest fight of his life. He better start losing that weight, man. I'm hearing that he's nowhere in fight shape. And the guy that beat up David Lemieux, who's a big power puncher, who's a real threat at 160, I want to see that BJ Saunders against Canelo Alvarez May 8th, wherever that fight takes place. I want to see that
better
BJ.
than that.
Well, he better
get
over this flu that he claims he has. But let's leave that for next week, because we'll discuss all that good stuff next week.
Yo, Dave, let me ask you something. You know, if BJ Sanders wins this fight, you think these guys are never going to hit these guys, the look on these guys' faces?
But if he loses,
I don't care if I take a pie to the face.
No, good. Because if we take that bet, it's going to be on this show.
Here's the thing. Drew loves pie, everybody. But here's the problem. Here's the end of the day when I want to talk about. I come up with legit points of how this dude can beat Canelo Alvarez.
But it's got to start with being in shape.
Yeah. And then guys give me that look like, what the fuck you talking about? You guys really, we can tell you like to eat, Drew. Yeah, we can tell you like to eat too. You name after a freaking meat truck. But at the end of the day, if Billy Joe Sanders wins, you're gonna have a lot of sad faces.
Well, let's just wait till he gets in training camp. Let's leave that up for St. Patrick's Day, because I'm gonna lose my camera right now. This is Dave from the 408, the Shoeshine. Next week we will be back on YouTube. I'm not sure what happened on my Restream account, but we'll be back up there. Drew Evo, Philly Irish will be joining me next week, and we'll special guest next week. We'll be back. Check us out on the Leave It in the Ring radio network, on Pandora, iTunes, wherever you download your podcasts, and we'll check you out next week. Peace.